Hello, gang. Welcome back. Please let me know if you can hear me and see me okay. You can all hear me all right? Do a quick sound check here. Hey, all right. Well, awesome. It's good to see you all. It's been a couple of weeks. It's been a kind of an adventure for me. Yeah, so it's also a little bit PTSD seeing this painting right now. But I figured, you got to get right back up on the saddle. For those of you that are haven't been keeping up on the Discord, the last session that we had 2 weeks ago, I went blue screen. I thought that might happen because I'd been having some issues, but it went blue screen and I could not get the machine restarted. I tried to restore, and the attempt to restore completely killed the boot sector. So I tried, after a lot of stuff, I did a reinstall of Windows and basically rebuilt everything from scratch, which was a nightmare because the system still wasn't stable. I was able to run it, but it wasn't working right. It was regularly crashing. It had all sorts of issues all that week. And then I finally got a hold of an IT guy, and the first test the IT guy had me do bricked my machine. Like, full stop, did not even turn on. It was horrible, horrible, horrible because, I just bought this awesome device that's supposed to kick ass and handle all sorts of things. Like, I got it and built it in order to play Cyberpunk, and here it is shitting the bed on Twitch. Live, no less. So that was fun. Good times. We managed to get it back together. It is running. The GPU is not in the original slot. Like, apparently it's the motherboard's problem. It's the same motherboard that's in there. So, heads up, as last time, I don't know what's going to happen. Fingers crossed we'll have a stable run through. I need to replace the motherboard. That's my long-term goal for now. But until then, we're testing stability. So today's a test. We're going to get back on. We're going to paint. We're going to chat, have fun. Fingers crossed. Put all of the juju you got on this because I'd really like to have a machine that is stable for the next several years. So yeah, welcome all. Good to see you on. Gray Voices, Cypher, Donkers, Incredibad, and Frios. Hey, and everybody else. Glad you guys could join. Thank you for coming back, even though I'd been gone such a long time. Yeah, I knew that would happen. Couple of weeks off. You're going to have to start all over again. That's just how this goes. So bear with me, and we'll get right into it. How have you all been the last couple of weeks? Hopefully better than me. Having fun. Some of you, if you're from America, have had your Turkey Day. I did that too. Big feast with minimal number of people. It's always weird. I also have been working, so my day job still continued through that whole thing. And I did most of my work through Procreate on my iPad. So I had to dig that all up and reinstall everything and get it all back up and running and juicy. And it worked just fine. It was just a little bit slower, but I still stand by my glowing reviews of not only the app but the iPad as a tool for doing concept art and illustration. I've used it for both, and in that pinch, it came through, and I was still able to do, my day job. I only lost one full day of work, which is so great to have that as an option. So I think probably one of my future purchases might be an upgraded iPad, and then because I have a much older version of it. It still was fine. I had a little bit of slowdowns with processing, but overall it ran great, perfectly fine. And in the end, I mean, even if I could only use my phone and a sketchbook, I can still do the work that I do. That's kind of what's awesome about what we do, huh? Downright Lazy, welcome. Yeah, add a blue screen on those screens. I have just the screens for that. I can do that. We will do so. Procreate came in with a save. That it did. Do I have a different process with the iPad? That's a really good question, Frios. I do have a slightly different process. The vast majority of it is the same in terms of like, especially how I did this. This painting where it's all layered, you know, each individual piece is kind of like a cardboard cutout in space. I kind of approach it that same way. There's a lot of artists that have done tutorials on Procreate that kind of come from that angle. I'd say the one thing that's pretty different when I'm using Procreate is their brush engine for blending, I think, is much better than this old CS6 version is. And I'm more dependent on brush blending in Procreate than I am here in Photoshop. The two balance each other out really nicely, I think. In Photoshop, I can be really, really precise with the colors that I mix and that I choose. And with Procreate, because it cannot be as precise with that stuff, the ability to blend and kind of mix out colors a little bit more in a traditional fashion make up for that. So, you know, it's just two different ways of doing the same thing. And of course, I am always going to be faster in Photoshop. It's like my home turf. And I have, you know, all of my macros and everything, which is all well and good until you have to reinstall it a few times. That's a goddamn nightmare, let me tell you. I've gotten better over the years with big crashes like these, where, you know, I try and save out settings, I try and save out brushes. I unfortunately did not save out my last brush set, the most recent version of it that I had really refined. So these brushes will look familiar, but they are not the brushes that I had. There are a lot of differences. So I have to go in and slowly, methodically clean stuff out that I don't use anymore and try and find and replace the brushes. I had these great ink brushes that I was really digging, and I can't remember where I found them, and they must have been saved to my downloads folder on the C drive, and I never moved them to my Dropbox folder of brushes. So that's on me. I'm still looking for those brushes. I've got some moderately close ones, but they're just not the same. Kind of a bummer. Yeah, it was a rough one, but not the roughest I've ever had. I did have one breakdown when I was living on the boat that put me out of commission for almost a month, and it was terrible. I had several illustration deadlines, and once I got the machine up and running, discovered, because I had nothing else to work on, I didn't even have the iPad at that time, I discovered that the files that I was painting on, which were final illustrations, had corrupted. Kind of like what happened with us on the Attack from Mars redesign, where it crashed and I actually lost the file. That's what happened, but with these big illustrations I was working on for Riot at the time. So I had to hustle. I had to like let them know what happened. That's the big embarrassment, is kind of just, you know, calling in and saying, look, I can't, I have failed. It's not entirely my fault, but I can't deliver what I promised I would deliver. And that's like, it's just the worst feeling. But I survived that. And this wasn't even as bad as that. This was annoying, but not nearly as bad as that last one. You find that you use way less layers on Procreate, you combine constantly. Yeah, that's probably wise too, because Procreate is going to be a little bit more, it doesn't have as much processor to pull from, and it doesn't have as much RAM or scratch disks, things like that. But that said, the two things just handle, their engines are just totally different. So I think Procreate is what I'd love Photoshop to be in terms of leanness. Like, they're really lean, and it makes for an excellent application. I asked what you've been up to. You were trying to think. You went through the Inspiring Reference Discord section and watched a bunch of videos today. Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, it was a bummer. You still remember from the last time I mentioned I lost those files? Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember which Riot illustrations they were. Probably blocked it from my memory, but they were definitely Riot and Wizards, both. It is not fun. It will happen at some point. If it hasn't happened to you already, it does happen. Um, you just don't have control over that sort of shit. Like this is definitely. I thought that from the get go, I thought that I had just done a poor install in the beginning because I assembled the machine myself, and I'm not. I have built several computers, but I'm not a pro at that at all. So I automatically assumed that it was user error from the get go. It would not have occurred to me at all to think it was the motherboard. And thankfully, I had a really awesome guy, a local dude, friend of a friend. He just volunteered to take it and run more tests on it. He had a second computer and things like that, so he could swap out pieces, which I couldn't do. So I couldn't do a lot of the diagnosis stuff on my own. You're super paranoid about backups. That's good. Yeah, I have backups for my work. So the work was safe. So long as it's not corrupted in the crash, my work has been fine. I have backups. I used to have backups of backups of backups when I was on the boat, but that was ridiculous because they were all on the boat at the same time. So multiple drives on a single boat. Boat goes down. The legacy of Izzy is gone forever. I should probably start backing up the more important files, the Wizards of the Coast stuff, the stuff that's got history to it on a cloud-based service. I just can't stand the when you save how much it slows stuff down. So what I'll probably end up doing, because I think that's a good idea, is doing like batch saves and having my local version and then just doing backup style like I do with my hard disks anyway. To have a backup, something like cloud. Yeah, that's basically my system. I have several, numerous terabyte drives. I've got the a bunch of those 4 terabyte little bastards. Those are great. You got a bail, lazy? Well, thanks for stopping in just for a second. Glad you could join us. Hopefully you're not our feather Dumbo that's kept us from crashing so far, but take it easy, my man. Can I schedule nightly automatic backups to cloud? Probably. The problem is that the cloud service I use is Dropbox, and Dropbox Dropbox has a folder on my C drive, and my C drive is not where I keep my all of my work folders. That's all on a separate drive, so I can yank it if I need to and throw it right into another machine and continue working. That's like the idea behind it. So just having that connection to the C drive would be problematic because the C drive is significantly smaller than my work drive. I'll have to research, though. I'm sure there's got to be some other cloud service other than Dropbox that has, a better sort of UI and uploading system. Tough to say, though. They're all constantly evolving. I'll give them that. They do work on I'm trying to come up with new ways to mess up your machine. Yeah, one of the things with Dropbox that they used to have, basically it was just like, it was a drive and then the drive would be backed up online. now they have this thing called Smart Sync, which is like basically you have thumbnails saved locally and everything's really only saved in the cloud, and that's meant to preserve your computer's speed and things like that, which makes sense in like on one hand, but on the other hand it means that you basically still only have one copy of your work and somebody else has it, and I don't like that. I really don't like that. So far, so good. Knock on wood. Yeah, sometimes shit will just go down for you on the job, regardless of what your job is, and you gotta be okay with on when that happens. Just letting them know what's going down. Try and not stress out too much. Easier said than done. But I think most jobs, in my experience, have been pretty understanding. I've never lost work because of something like that happening. Use Backblaze. It automatically backs everything up. You don't save directly on the cloud. It just uploads periodically. Backblaze. Let me write that down. That's pretty good. Oh, I don't have my pen in here. I completely disassembled my desk, pulling everything apart. So I'll just add it to my notes on my phone. Oh wait, nope. I have that up. Backblaze, huh? Hopefully that service is affordable. I'm going to take a break from a painting like this. I think it changes the final product? Yes, it does, but it does in the same way that the final product would be different just in you doing it right there in the first sitting. That's where it's just, you're always going to be bringing your knowledge to the table. Of course, you're going to forget whatever it was you were working on. Like I don't even remember what I lost. So I don't remember what I was working on when it crashed. I have no memory of it at all. In fact, it may be completely saved. I'm not sure, but I don't know what I was planning to do. And I'd say for me, this very much ties into how I work. Like I don't really kind of go in with a hard plan for how things will be. I just kind of go. And because I'm doing that when I do my work traditionally, when something goes wrong, it's not terribly different. I just go. Now, I mean, yeah, easier said than done again. A lot of that is just experience, but I've talked with you guys before about trusting your process, trusting your skill set. It's why you train. It's why you do what you do, right? It's why you spend that time trying to improve your craft, master different elements of it. It's so that you can count on it when you need to. Use Google Drive for things when you're working at the moment. You have 200 gigabytes in Backblaze to back everything up. Oh, you were wondering if I was one of those guys that sees it when you start? No. I have... How I would describe it is I'll have a rough idea of what I'm after, but I trust that I'm going to find cooler things as I go. And that has never really let me down, that approach. I would say if I was to describe myself, I am a tactician. I'm not a strategy guy. So I'm good at reacting in the battlefield. I don't really plan things out. If all else fails, just become a baker. I am a terrible baker. That requires planning. But we do have an affinity for cupcakes in here, so I understand where you're coming from. Yeah, I'm starting to think about dimensionality with these things. So how it might attach, little sort of Z depth shifts. What does a pro walkthrough get you? Pro walkthrough is where you can dig through any painting I've ever done. I'll try and find it online, and I'll walk you through the process that I was thinking of as I painted it, what the assignment was like, anything I can remember. So if there's something, basically it's like me giving myself a crit is a way to think about it. And then, of course, you can ask questions specific to that, the job I was working on at the time. Essentially, it's a venue for us to have a specific thing to chat about. That said, before anybody gets too excited, there are some paintings that are of mine that are particularly explicit. We can't cover those in here. We can talk about them on the Discord, though, so you can check that out for sure. If you'd rather I do it there. Could be a sail through. I was no pro at sailing my boat. I have the war wounds to prove it. None of this is lining up. Let's see. Yeah, I'm seeing brush strokes in here from some of those brushes I had, and I'm so sad. I can't find them. I don't know how I found them in the first place. Oh, that happens. That leaves yours out, Cypher. Well, like I said, you can post them up on the Discord. The Discord's open. Can't live with those brushes. You don't deserve to have them. Live without. Yeah, that's true. I just liked what they did. Polyvier, when he's using specific tools, he'll make a new folder and copy those so he won't lose them. Yeah, I traditionally do that. Those brushes were so new that I did not save them. I had not saved them yet to my brushes folder, which I've been building for at least a decade now. But the majority of what I do is I find new brushes, add them to my brush kit that I have here, and clean out the stuff that I don't use or can't see a use for, and then I save this kit. So that's what had happened is I'd gotten these ink brushes that I found somewhere. I cannot find them. I didn't buy them because I checked Gumroad, ArtStation, every place you can buy decent brushes. Nothing like that was up. So I must have found them just randomly one time, probably because some artist posted like a blog about it or something like that. And yeah, I just can't. I have no idea where I got them. I did not save them in time. If you're wondering, I did save this set already. Last week you watched the interview I had with Siamac. So cool to live on a boat. Saludos desde Mexico. Awesome. A la ciudad. Kick ass. Welcome, Bardes. Bienvenidos. Glad we could have you on. Yeah, that was a great chat with Siamac. He's a really smart guy. And I've started watching his other videos. I think he's a great interviewer. He asks really thoughtful questions. I haven't picked a date yet, but I'll be doing a podcast with Spiridon pretty soon. Probably sometime this month there'll be a new podcast up. I believe his name's Spiridon Giannakis, and his podcast is sort of more tilted towards kind of working, mental health, things like that, emotional well-being as an artist, and just, miscellaneous good stuff. So I'm looking forward to getting on a chat with him. I haven't seen him in a long time, so it'll be cool to catch up. Yeah, if you guys like that podcast stuff, make sure to subscribe and follow to those guys, and let me know what sort of stuff you'd like me in, and if you guys have recommendations for people for me to talk to, always feel free to drop that info in the Discord. I'm eating my vegetables first. Like, it'd be so much more fun to paint the face and the figure and just get into that, but I got to make sense of this mechanical stuff that I sketched out. So I'm taking the time to try and get that a little bit more refined before I move on to more fun stuff. I always try to save dessert for last. This always helps with keeping your focal point the most interesting, and it keeps your drive to finish the painting and have everything look good. it keeps that in check, because this has happened to me so many times, and I'm sure it's probably happened to you, where where you're working on a painting and you just you have your dessert first, you paint the part that you wanted to paint, the fun rendering or whatever it is, the fun effects, and you got super focused on that, spent all your time there, and then when it came time to do the vegetables, you have an incomplete painting because you just can't be bothered to work on that anymore. Yeah, I think I'm going to get rid of that. Yeah, check the download history on your browser in case they were in the old download brushes. I did try that. They were not. I got them too long ago. That they were not listed in there. Fire interview, awesome. Don't trust smart people. Real talk, you know what's a healthy artist above everything is a steady income. Pay the bills and eat income. Every artist, every starter, it's the one thing that is always there among those that are in the bad headspace is money issues. That's true. That's one of the things that we talk about is kind of, he was hinting at the idea that, wealthy people are inherently happier. And I think it's really just making sure that you have your main essential necessities to be content and comfortable as a human being, and being able to eat and having a safe place to sleep and ensuring the comfort of your family are the most important things. So yeah, I think that is true. It's a defining aspect of being a healthy artist. Sure, yeah, no disagreement there. It's just it's the question of making sure that you're getting paid for the work that you do and not letting anybody else devalue your efforts and things like that. Like that can be very unhealthy for your future, and how you value yourself. And this is something that he always talks about. I've watched several of his shows now. He's always about like making sure that you are promoting and understanding your own value. And that's super important because what we do is work. Yeah, it seems fun to the normies, if you will, but it's work too, and it has value, and it makes, when you do artwork for somebody else, they're making money with it. In fact, they're almost always making more money than they're paying you for it. This is just the rule of capitalism, is you're going to be exploited no matter what, because you are going to only be paid just less than what you actually make. That's like the maximum you're ever going to make, is less than you afford them. It's capitalism, baby. Missed some stuff, sorry. Find yourself getting impatient with whatever you're drawing and tend to leave it incomplete rather than finishing it. Towards the end, you start hating what you did more and more. Don't know how to fix this. Try doing what I'm talking about. Try working on the stuff that you don't like first. As soon as you feel yourself kind of getting, and I do this as well, as soon as you feel yourself getting frustrated or bored or something like that, either make some big changes or allow yourself a little bit of dessert. Focus on the fun part just a little bit. So if you're actually doing what I'm talking about and you eat the vegetables first and that's it, and that alone wears you out so you're not having fun with the painting anymore, then yeah, go ahead and play a little bit with the stuff that you'd like. Just be disciplined about going back and finishing your vegetables before you finish everything else. Spend more time in pre-production. Try and find your mistakes first when they're easy to fix. Yep. You tend to have no idea what you're drawing and no thought put into it, so you don't know if you're making a mistake. You should spend more time thinking about what you draw. It's an interesting question. I would say probably the way to approach it, especially if you're not working professionally yet, is to give yourself specific problems to solve, like an actual assignment instead of just drawing. This, by having a goal, it can help outline what sort of decisions you're going to need to make. The goal is huge in practice when you're trying to teach yourself, and it's not a paid project, because pay, it's a little bit easier to stomach not getting the work right and trying again and again when you're getting paid by the hour for it. Sounds like a drawing problem. And I learned the hard way in charging what you're worth, or more what your product is worth. But on the other side, don't think there's a certain good way to paying your dues in the sense. Yeah, everybody's going to kind of have an opinion on that one way or another. And I don't think that it's a paying your dues thing. I think it's a making mistakes thing. I did it. There was projects that I got hired to do where it sounded really cool. This was me when I was still in school and stuff like that, where they were like, hey, we want you to design characters for this project, whatever. We'll pay you X $100. And I was like, yeah, my first paid gig. And they ended up paying me in like product rather than actually paying me. And it was a huge letdown. But I got screwed. I didn't have a contract. I didn't do all of the stuff that you're supposed to do. I completely failed to do. And it was a learning experience for me. So sometimes that's what you can call that, is learning experience. And I think everybody kind of goes through that, because you can't be prepped for everything. You really can't. And even the stuff that I tell you that's going to happen, or that some other teacher tells you is going to happen, you may not think that that's what's going to happen in this case. There's all sorts of different reasons for how we get hoodwinked or taken advantage of or whatever. And, it's just a learning experience. You can't punish yourself too much for making the mistake. There's still time to fix it. I'm going to merge these down because having them separated really isn't giving me any great benefit anymore. I had already cleaned up some of my lines with the last one. Merged! Oh my God. We're going to save it. I'm going to check on my machine, see how my machine's doing. Give it little pets. Hi, you're okay. You're okay. Don't be mad. Okay. Things are looking all right. I'm going to go ahead and do this with all of my big layers. So we're going to merge this one down. That's this guy here. The screens, we're going to merge that down. Why not? Just clean this all up. And I'm going to merge my background down. We can merge that down. No biggie. So now we have real simple stuff. This is a great way. I would normally save out a new version of this Photoshop file if I was working on a project for work. This isn't work. It's fine. It's not a big deal. We actually have proof of that not being smart, but I don't feel like messing with it right now. The other thing I was going to talk about is by collapsing your files or your layers like this, it's going to be less of a drain on your CPU. So it's always a good idea that once you've gotten to a good point with these clipping masked painting elements, to collapse them just so that you don't have a bunch of CPU hog going on. Get a therapist. Oh man. Therapy fights, like bum fights. Y'all are monsters. Okay, so part of why I wanted to do that is I noticed that my drawing that I have for the arm is not lining up quite right. So I wanted to merge everything. That way I can do some pretty major edits, like transforming a chunk. This little piece really isn't giving me anything here. I'm just going to cut it off. As long as you get it right in the joints, you can do some pretty massive changes to the pixels. I would not do this too much because you will, especially on a lower resolution painting, experience pixel degradation. You can't quite see it in this because it's fairly high res, but you end up with artifacting every time you transform something. The way that it handles blending values and colors in Photoshop. This is one of the problems with Photoshop. It degrades it because it's changed the angle, and it does effectively like an expanse, an upres, and it will fill pixels with nearby colors. And what that does is it just makes it blurry and blurrier and blurrier. So if I were to do this, if we were to just grab this piece and transform it, 50 times and put it right next to the original, you would see that it's degraded quite a bit. And that's what's happening. It's because the pixels get changed. It's not actually smooth. Each line that you have is represented by a complement of little tiny squares, those pixels. And as you move them around, those pixels will constantly be expanding with local colors nearby. So it's kind of poopy. Should use the Puppet tool as it's a lot better than Transform. The Puppet tool has its uses, and it can maintain, so can Liquify. Puppet tool's better, and Warp tool is a bit better. Like, I'd say Puppet tool is the best, then Warp, and then Liquify for keeping your pixels a little bit tighter. But in my experience, especially with something that's kind of a broken line thing like this, the Puppet Warp can be a little bit goofy. And Puppet Warp does not like straight lines. So if you're doing something mechanical like this, it's a little bit harder. It will work. You can finesse it as long as you can paint over it and clean it up. But I have, in my experience, a crisper, like, actual selection will be easier to clean up than a Puppet Warp. That said, Procreate's Transform, I find, tends to keep your pixels much crisper. I don't know how they're doing it, what their system is, but it definitely feels more crisp to me. And I mean, again, if you have something high enough res, it really doesn't matter that much. That artifacting is so tiny that you won't notice it. Since I already have it selected, I'll just use it as a mask. Does CS6 have Puppet? It does. Procreate, I don't think, is ever moving to desktop. They've specifically decided to work with a specific market. They don't feel that they need to do a desktop version. That said, iPad also said, Jobs said they'd never have a stylus for the iPad. And to me, that was one of the things that that really bugged me about the iPad up until the Apple Pencil, was that they didn't have a proper stylus. And it seemed foolish to me to not do it. So it's possible down the line Procreate may come around on that one. But I've talked with the team, and yeah, they've made it pretty clear. I love that you guys are learning about Puppet Warp. There's also a feature in Liquify that allows you to change the face features, specifically mouth, eyes, and brow. I think that's a newer one. I don't think my version of Photoshop has the face-specific Liquify, but I've used it for that numerous times throughout the years. Yeah, right. Great Voices is right. It's not on this one. Use that feature so many times when you had to do facial variances of characters. Easy job. Yeah, it definitely makes it easier. Think smart, not hard. No, I don't think that's the saying. Still blows your mind that Rigney uses Photoshop 7. Yeah. He doesn't need anything else, though. I mean, if you watch how he does things, I mean, he's got it down. He's a lot. I think he and I are a lot alike in that respect. Like, yeah, there's all this new stuff, but I'm like, this works for me. I don't see any point in changing it too much. That said, I used to rock only Photoshop 7 for a long time before finally upgrading to this. It's kind of a cheat code right there when you're doing planar stuff. If you want to try and really emphasize a planar shift, if you pop a little light right on the edge of that planar shift, you're going to get a stronger looking edge. Huh, I didn't think about this part. I'm gonna have to fix that. There's a lot of styles in illustration that really emphasize this, and I think Riot and Blizzard are pretty strong candidates for styles that use this the hardest. This kind of emphasizing an edge thing. There's a reason they do it, though. It definitely works. I've even seen it translating now into like cosplay when they're doing when they're doing edges like this. They go in and they'll burnish edges and just to give them a little more look of being worn, and it helps just accent that change in direction. Yeah. See how that line there makes this feel like it's an extruded rectangle coming off of the surface? That's all we're after. It's just that little bit. Devil's Nemesis, welcome. Glad you could join us. It's an artist at Riot that loves to zoom in and get those scratches and dry brush effect. No doubt. I've definitely done it for even some of my Riot gigs, going in and like you can grab just that edge, use a nice some texture brush. This is a pretty good one for this kind of thing. It's just kind of like just texturing up the edges a little bit to give it that like just worn look. It's cool. I'd say add it at the end. Don't use it as a fundamental element to describe a form. But it's a great detail to add. Uh-oh. Been painting on the actual mask to be clipped to... I want to make sure I'm painting on the clipping mask itself. Just going in and creating interesting part lines. Trying to follow the logic that past Izzy was using. He's not a very trustworthy guy though, so grain of salt it. Let's check on our thing. How we doing here? We still alive? It's still working. Hey, we made it an hour. Good, good, good. Naomi, welcome back. It's good to see you on. Managed to save up the money for the drawing tablet. Awesome. Ordered it. Amazon delivered an oven. Are you serious? Oh my god. Oh no. That's awful. Man, I was pissed because they lost a rain jacket I ordered. That's a whole other order of magnitude of awful. What a fuck up, damn. Hopefully you've been on the phone with those fools and got it sussed out. You should definitely get to keep the oven, in my opinion. That's such a massive mistake. Small oven for 80 bucks instead of a 600 euro tablet. Ooh, that's super not cool. Grilled cheese a la Wacom. So when I mess up an ellipse like this, as long as it's on another layer, it's not a big deal because I can always transform it and try and get it to feel a little bit more correct. And let's say that works for me and I want to do another part line and I don't want to go through the hassle of drawing a new ellipse. It's fine to do a copy and paste, but always make sure that when you're doing it that you transform that new part line that has the ellipse so that the ellipse is still following the perspective that you've established. Because if you constantly use the same ellipse going up a form, it's going to flatten everything out because it won't actually look three-dimensional anymore. It's super important to change that ellipse. As it moves through space, the ellipse must be a different shape. There is no exception. Thug, how's it going? Welcome back, my man. Whatever that may be, they surely made a good deal. About like 6 of these now. Yeah. If he sells your tablet, that's true. He now has access to loads of ovens. How's it going down in the Southlands, Thug? Whoa! Don't like that. Don't do that. The PC is not technically fixed. It is running stably, but there is absolutely still something wrong with it. I'm going to need to order a new motherboard and install everything again. Hopefully, I don't know, maybe you would know on this one, but I hope I don't have to completely do a fresh install on the C drive of Windows. That's like my big concern, is being stuck. This looks like a magazine. It's dumb. I'm getting rid of it. Yeah, I don't want to get stuck completely reinstalling everything again. No, the thing that's wrong is the motherboard. Or at least it's the most likely cause of what's going on right now. Yeah, I don't like any of that. Motherboard swap should be painless. Just reauthorize the license. I hope so. I really hope so. Also, I'm really nervous about swapping out the CPU. Yeah, just everything that can go wrong. I'm very nervous about it. That's where you are with the server. You need to swap the CPUs. Yeah, it's a tender business. I mean, just one slightly bent pin and you've shit the bed. And I'm very nervous. Apparently, the guy that I had doing the IT on this and who got it working again did actually pull and reseat the CPU. He pulled the entire thing apart and redid everything in order to get to start up again. So it's currently got fresh thermal paste and all that good stuff. But when I do it, I'm going to have to do it all over again. Make sure I'm on a fresh layer. I am using that texture brush and it's not actually doing me any favors. So I think I'm going to switch back to my brushy brush. I've completely messed up that ellipse, like 100%. So much so I'm going to delete this. I just messed up, guys. It happens. If it's not working, we can transform the selection alone. Let's see, that's not going to work. The other way to do this is a cheat, but it totally works, is to go in with the Ellipse Tool. This is so much easier to do in Procreate. This is one of the things, and I imagine, obviously modern Photoshop's much better now. You know what? Actually, let's just do a ball joint here. That's what I'll do. Transform selection and not the content, even though there is no content on this layer. Yeah, sometimes it's just better to go in with the selection and stop fussing around with trying to draw it. Being a purist with technique really gets you nowhere these days. You getting dizzy yet? I have not had anybody complain of vomiting yet, though. That's how you broke the USB 3 header on your PC's motherboard, by reinstalling it? Oh, man. I did get Black Ops installed. Oops. Thank you for that. Yeah, I did get it installed, but I have not actually even opened it yet. I have been... Anytime I've been gaming, I've been so completely stuck in Ghost of Tsushima. Like... Yeah. Running around and shooting people doesn't even sound remotely interesting to me right now. I'm having fun going through the wilderness and bowing to everything. Oh my God. It's great. It's probably the best power fantasy game I've played in a long time. And I've gotten so good at controlling my experience with these kinds of games, these sort of like open world, third person slash first person. Sometimes they do it that, but these open world, Far Cry, Ghosts, Control, where like your progression is dependent on you unlocking abilities. I've gotten so good at making sure that I don't unlock abilities that would make the game too easy, because then it's just not fun anymore. But I've just unlocked another section of the island, and the difficulty level has accelerated significantly. And I hadn't been using any of my my sort of technique points for quite a while, so I had to go a little bit of easy mode there for the last little bit of play I've had. But man, it's so much fun. The art is insane. I love the paintings you guys did. So good. Oh yeah, I'm really excited to get to Valhalla too. I've been reading the reviews on it. Sound great. So basically, the next sort of big open world game that I'm going to get post Ghosts is Assassin's Creed. Should be interesting. I haven't been in that universe since Black Flag. Is that what it was called? I loved the pirate one. Arguably one of the contributing factors to me going out on a boat. Oop, missed some stuff. Lasso can be so satisfying. Absolutely. Getting dizzy with it. Yeah, Incredibad, being a purist isn't worth it these days is true. I was probably one of the last that still argued, like, don't use photos, don't do this, don't do that. And, it's sure, it sounds great being like one of the classicalists, but it's just when you're talking about getting stuff done for the job and, being relevant and still having work, you can't compete. The speed is the benefits of taking those kinds of shortcuts are absolutely relevant. You can totally see it. You have to use them. You have to, unless you're working on a game that or on a project that is specifically looking for this more kind of bespoke art style. That's one of the things I loved about working on God of War back in the day, is that they loved the concept art, like making the concept art really painterly and really nice. It wasn't painterly in terms of being brushy, but it was definitely like it had that painted feel. It didn't feel like 3D. So that was so much fun. I loved that. But you gotta, if you're wanting to do the work, this is one of those things where we have had discussions before about the difference between doing gallery work or work for yourself and working commercially. Is you have to satisfy deadlines and clients when you're working commercially, and that means starting to use all of the tools that are available and not being an art purist. You got to be an art mercenary. Just do whatever is necessary to get it done, and get it done well, of course. GOT is lovely. Yeah. Have I found the secret signs you have to bow at? No, I have not. Oh, bow at. Yes. Yeah. I mean, they have a sign that has a bow icon on them, but I'd been running around and bowing at them. Um, this might be an interesting thing for the design team. I'd been running around and bowing at these signs. There's these little like kind of signs with a little roof on the sign that protects it. It's very Japanese looking, and then it has this icon of a person bowing. And so I thought, okay, this is an area I have to bow. So I would go and bow at the sign, and not realize that area, when you bow, it starts up like a little thing, like there's a little river scene where the fish start jumping after you bow, and you honor, the spirit of the river there, which is super cool. But for the first half of the game, I was bowing at the sign, and I didn't notice anything else. I was just like, oh, I have to bow at this thing. So funny. You platinumed it? That's awesome. Reached the point where you find open world games more restricting than the normal game with levels. Really? That's an interesting claim, Devils. We'll have to discuss that. Intrigued with Phoenix Rising. I don't even know what that one is. Dev Team did those ink paintings. You just animated them. For which? For Ghosts? Because those ink paintings are dope. Valhalla has a very Black Flag feel. That's great news, because that has been my favorite Assassin's Creed by far. They always remove the National Geographic logo before you publish. True story. Oops. Yeah, that does happen. You were so inspired by the guys at Sunny Santa Monica. Aw. Well, you guys are the new bog standard as far as I'm concerned, Naomi. That game has some of the best art I think I've seen since. It's so beautiful. And the brush style, I want those brushes so goddamn bad. Those are some of the most beautiful ink brushes. So yeah, I would love to talk to the art team and see what they did for developing them, because they put together an amazing set. It's a secret. You have to find them all for a trophy. Oh, is that how you platinumed it? I know you had to look that up. Don't lie to me. Yeah, I actually just saw the whole art book thing, and there was sort of a release article from Sucker Punch that featured like a lot of the concept art and a lot of those like loading screens. But so far, I love the loading screen art. I love the inky stuff is so cool. But the character designs, all of that, like it has that nice brushy feel to it. I think some of the best damn concept art out there. Some of those brushes you did in AE, I believe it. Especially the animating ones, I'm sure. Or obviously only the animating ones. But the still art that I saw had really amazing ink brushes in there that were super smooth. Yeah, Naomi, they're great. I honestly, all of that artwork has blown me away so far. The game is a treat. It's really beautiful. The lighting design, incredible. I've had fun. Like, I don't even really take pictures to publish anywhere. I've done like maybe a couple Instagram posts with it. But I'll just sit there. If something cool has happened, I'll go into photo mode and just look at it from different angles and kind of compose. I've never done that with a game before. I've never gone into photo mode. So it's my first one. High compliments to the beauty of the game. I covet those brushes. I covet them. They did all layered to your specs. That's awesome. It must have been pretty fun to work with. Did you actually animate him, Thug? Or was it your team? Oh, Naomi, I know exactly how that fun is. I hate painting that way. Oh, yeah, you've got to do it for the animation. It's just, as a painter, it sucks to paint that way. We're going to do our little edge cheat again here real quick. How are we doing? Still okay. I think we're going to go short today. We'll just do a couple of hours instead of the full 3 that we've been doing traditionally. I don't want to push the machine too much. Like I said, it's still sicky. He's still struggling. Compound shapes are always a pain in the ass. It's one of the things I like about Cyberpunk in particular. You can be a little bit wiggly with it and, it's okay. You can hide your crimes in a cool concept. Oh, you art directed it? That's awesome. It's those little sort of myth stories that the bard does. They're some of my favorite parts. They're really beautiful. So the animation and combined with the sound guys, whew, so great. And being a fan of different kinds of Japanese martial arts and stuff like that, it's so cool seeing the details and the movements and stuff. Like, a lot of love went into that game. One of my favorite things. It's really subtle in the way the main character sheathes his weapon, is drawing the scabbard out simultaneous to putting the sword back in, is such a cool, like, subtle thing that I don't think I've ever seen in another samurai or ninja type game. Any game where Japanese swordplay takes place, just that combined motion of you, like, simultaneously using the scabbard as part of the sheathing process. Never seen it anywhere else. And I was like, what? So good. So good, Naomi. I'm glad I decided to give the stream a try. Yeah, me too. And I'm really pleased that it's still stable. I don't trust it. Don't trust it at all. I fully expect a blue screen at any moment. But we're going to ride this out and have fun. Stick a cable and LED on it. All good. It's definitely the core of Cyberpunk. Great voices. You did more for the Legends mode. They all have red lighting to them. Oh, nice. Yeah, I can't wait to play Legends. I wanted to finish the game before I got into Legends, but I'm getting very tempted. So one of the things I wondered about the Legends mode is because the game itself pushes you know, sort of ninjutsu techniques and sort of the thief stuff versus, you know, the sort of old Bushido code and kind of how they don't necessarily gel. But those two completely different play styles are available to you in the main game. I'm wondering if the ninjutsu side is at all relevant in the Legends game, because it's an MP mode, which would, I think, just sort of imply you run around just bashing the crap out of everything. So I don't know. I haven't even turned it on yet. I haven't even loaded it, but I am curious about that aspect. That game is a love letter to Kurosawa. Yes, it is. It's a love letter to just great like samurai storytelling. Like it has the detail, it has the love, and it's so satisfying being a fan of that kind of film and really seeing other people's dedication in it. It's great. I will definitely be playing that one again and again in future, because it scratches such a specific itch that nothing else has ever done. Yep. So one of the things in terms of world building rules that I've established for myself with Maggot was that the any of the machinery that is constructed via nanites doesn't have cables. It's just complex planar shapes. So I can't add just cables for the cyberpunk aspect on her. I can totally do it for background or for old school cyberware, which some characters do have, because the whole point of this story is about classism and poverty. So I absolutely wanted some characters in some areas where just old school cyberpunk, like clunky grunge cyber, is the norm. The Legends mode is co-op like zombies. Oh, okay. Way more fantasy. Oh, okay. Yeah, if you're still playing it, I'm happy to join up. You guys still playing Warzone on the reg? Yeah, here's a few brushes that I absolutely need to get rid of. Although they have their place. I'll show them to you real quick. These used to be always at the front of my setup, but I have these brushes at the front here. I've mentioned them before, which are basically perspective grid brushes. So you just hit it, and then you can use that and transform the grid. Oops, let me zoom it out. Transform the grid. So this is single point perspective. You can transform it, change the shape, change the angle so that you can get different stuff out of it. And it's all handled just by the one brush stroke. Let me delete this layer and make another one, because they're pretty complicated. I'm sure if you just look up perspective brush, you don't need this stuff that much anymore. Oops. Here's a grid, so you can transform just the grid and get exactly what you need. It's a great way to just kind of quickly match up your perspective. It's a good way also to check your guestspective to see how your guestspective was doing. So we could see how good my guestspective was. Yay! I mean, relatively yay. We can't see what it is compared to a horizon line because I didn't map it with a horizon line, but that's not bad. I'm pretty close. I can definitely see where I'm wrong, but it's close. Let's delete that, and I'll show you the last one. It's just kind of a cool little extra thing to have. But you really don't need them that much anymore. Most applications will have like a perspective program available. So with this one, you can mix it together and do 3-point perspective pretty easily. I'm not even sure if you guys can see the tiny strokes here. Hey! It's very busy, but it's good stuff if you want to back up for your painting. I'm going to go ahead and delete them now, though, because I don't really use them. Delete that. Delete brush. Okay, delete brush. Just a fun aside there real quick. For reasons. Don't judge me. More Black Ops at the moment. Nice. Avid, welcome. Glad you could join. Could have a smart object in your library for that with the CC. Actually, you can do that also with your shapes. And I've seen them done with shapes before too. Just not. I don't use them. Not that much. Because like some of these, I don't remember exactly where it's at because I haven't used it in forever. But there is a tool for doing perspective in Photoshop that's actually 3D. I never use it though. And the one in Procreate's a little bit more, it's about the same, but it's more intuitive. And what's cool is that you can map your lines to it, which is great. So it's fun. And then on top of that, the autocomplete shape thing is just, oh, it's so cool. So doing cyberware with the autocomplete shape is great. Because you can do, let's say you just do a circle. And if you just hold, after you've drawn that circle, it'll create a circle in the stroke you've made. That's perfect. And then you can edit the shape of the ellipse and everything. Same thing with a line. You just hold it and it'll straighten out the line. That's the one thing that I miss the most coming back to Photoshop. And I've run into it a couple of times because I got used to it when I was using Procreate on my iPad while my machine was out of commission. And I got used to that. I was like, oh, this is awesome. This is a great little aspect to the tool. You missed the hybrid lasso polygonal in Procreate? It has it. Oh, there's a bunch of tools that Procreate has that Photoshop doesn't. One of the ones that's kind of fun is it has a symmetry drawing aspect, so you can pick where your center line is and draw on one side and then the other side fills out. But then they've also kind of built that around more complicated symmetry patterns, so you can do like six sectional circle, things like that. And I've done really quick motif style details and things like that. I even designed a logo when I was in Mexico using that, and it didn't take very long at all. So that is such a powerful little thing. It's so specific. It only answers one specific thing, but it's quite worked out, and it makes a lot of sense. It's super fun. You should definitely learn Procreate and play with it. You may like it a lot. You miss it in Photoshop. In Procreate, you click away from the shape you were drawing with a lasso and it makes a straight line. So you can do organic and straight lines in the same selection. You can do the same with Photoshop. You just need to know how. So you can do your organic and then you can do polygonal. So I think Photoshop had that first. Gray voices, did I just break your mind? Yeah, I'll show you how to do it. So let me check to make sure it's the right one. Oops. Okay, yeah. So it's the Alt key. So once you start an organic line, if you hold down the Alt key and lift up and just start doing points, it'll go to the polygonal line. And then you just draw. So it's kind of the opposite. But once you hold down the Alt key, you're good. You can go back to doing selecting normally. It's Alt. Well, you know, it could be Control. The keyboard I'm using is a Logitech like third-party keyboard, and the keys are all messed up. So I think it's Alt, but it could be Control. Try either. Just hold it down as you're drawing. Everyone should learn to use paths. We don't use paths for what we're doing, man. It's too slow. Paths are great, but they're just not. They're not fast enough. They're great for like if you need to do something that's really like Gray Voice is saying, if it's accurate, that sort of thing. But for Lasso, how we use it, it's all about speed and just getting it done as quick as possible. Okay, so I've rendered on that top bit quite a bit. Let's finish out the lower part of the arm. And that's probably enough time for tonight. I'm going to go ahead and merge all these down so that I'm just painting a clipping on one. Make a new layer. Oops. I've been painting very slowly, so I'm I'm quite gun shy about my machine right now. Okay, so here's kind of a fun color trick. It's quite useful when you have a very strong light source that's behind something, but you want to imply that lighting, because this is a curved thing, you want to imply that this lighting is affecting this curve, because it should. So one of the easy ways to do that is, logically, you would use the color of the light source and just paint it on there. And that works, but it tends to kind of not, you lose your edge there pretty significantly, and you can't quite see the edge, the outer edge of the cylinder in this case. So one of the ways you can get around this is to use saturation. So you can go bright, but instead of going that same color, change the saturation a little bit, maybe even mess with the hue slightly. And by changing that, you're able to light the cylinder so that the lighting is accurate, but at the same time you're not losing that edge. Once you have that edge with that color, then you can go back. See? You gotta head out in Credibad. Hey, thanks for joining us on our trial return. Glad you could be here. Take it easy. You got quick at paths. You were freehand. Oh, I read that already. Yep. I stand by my opinion on paths. You know, I like to do things the hard way. It's Thug's favorite thing about me. Do you guys watch Twitch on the weekends at all? That is 100% correct. The upside is that usually the stuff that I do, other people don't need to deal with down the line. Usually. This shape doesn't make any sense here. I've been nursing it because it was providing visual variety, but it's really not helping me out, so I'm gonna have to do something about it. So let's go ahead and make a new layer. Let's see. Maybe allow for a little bit more of that kind of nanite construct feel, where it's just plainer nonsense. Hey. It's dumb. Why not? Only watch me. Just watch it in the background while you're painting. And you watch Twitch on the weekend, Ham. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I'm thinking about moving the Thursday session to a weekend morning. Just to try to draw in more geographically variable watchers. And the gang from Patreon that were in Europe. One thing that's very different is the dropped frames. I'm not dropping any frames now. Very interesting. Hell yeah, the European gang. Gotta get everybody back on the squad. Also, yeah, for those of us on Discord and previous patrons, hopefully, I'm thinking maybe this week we can sit down and chat about the future of Patreon. I've looked at some ideas, but it's been on hold because shit's been messed up lately. Haven't seen issues from New York. That's good. You made the GIF out of the hyena spray. There were dropped frames. Yep, absolutely. I don't know if there's dropped frames on that are just a result of compression via Twitch too, but I was dropping thousands of frames on previous sessions. So the fact that it says 0 right now is crazy shocking to me. And maybe gives me a slight glint of hope. Blue screen. Blue screen, blue screen, blue screen. I'm kidding. I just assume the worst. It's safer that way. Totally jinxed it. You made it. No. It was really bad on the VOD. Yeah, that's too bad. Yeah, and also other bad news. We lost... I lost 3 episodes, I think, because I was offline and didn't even think to go on to back them up to YouTube. So a few of those episodes are gone forever. Sad. But that's going to be the long term anyway, is we're going to make it... Once there's enough of a following here, I'm going to stop pushing YouTube as much. I'd like to stick to this format. I like the interactivity of it. You get hurt less if you just assume the worst. This is true to a degree. It's also somewhat miserable, but yeah, I get it. I won't argue it. I think this needs to be a kind of a weird universal joint. Who? Dizzy. Speaking of the Z-Bolt rewards that you guys can purchase, if you have ideas for other stuff that you think would be interesting, drop those ideas in the Discord for sure. I just picked stuff when I first built the channel, and it was totally arbitrary. I just didn't want it to be the same stuff that they had already listed. But if there's things that would actually be of value to you, then I absolutely want to make sure that I have those listed as options. Baseman, welcome. Glad you could join. Trying to think of the next MTG sample art to do. Any suggestions? Let's see. What did you do last time? It was a It was a creature. So one of the things that I think is a good idea to improve your chances for higher with doing Magic is to make sure that you're getting a variety of card types. So, and I don't just mean like land. I've only done like a couple of lands, but the other spells are super varied. So there's the kind of cards where there's a specific action that's the focus, like and they'll tell you this in the assignments. It'll be like you can have completely different card illustrations, even though they might have the same elements in them based on the kind of card that it is. So let's say you've got a character that's blasting a creature like I don't know, a were hyena with a lightning bolt, right? So yeah, you're going to come up with a couple of images when you think about that. But what they do that I think is pretty useful is they tell you what kind of focus they want, because the spell will have a different mechanic or something built around it. It'll be a different kind of spell. So you can do that same illustration with those specific assets in different ways and have it look and appear to promote a different idea. And that's one of the things that's really important when you're doing the magic cards. So let's say they might say the focus for the spell of a wizard shooting a lightning bolt at a were hyena is the effect of the lightning bolt itself. So really, how you arrange your camera and how you arrange your figures and stage everything is not going to be about the creature or the character, but it's going to feature the lightning bolt and something special about the lightning bolt. Or let's say this spell effect is a were hyena is resistant to electricity. So you would still have a were hyena, a lightning bolt, and a mage or wizard on the far end of the lightning bolt. But now you're going to frame it differently because now you want to show that the hyena is invulnerable to lightning. Or let's say that the wizard is using a ring to summon the lightning bolt. So now that changes everything else. You may still have all of those elements that are inside that illustration, but it completely changes how you frame it, how you stage the characters, how you compose everything. That's all different stuff. So I would say what you could do is take any MTG illustration that you like or any card effect that you like and try and change it and say, okay, this is a creature card now, or this is instant, this is an interrupt, something like that. So it shows that you have command over your camera and staging to create a variety of different focal interests for whatever that illustration may be. No one can see you crying in the rain. Nice. Hopefully that's helpful. Actually, I think that's probably really helpful. If one of you guys could clip that for me, that would mean a lot. That's a pretty useful thing to know. I'll have to have a link to that somewhere because I get asked that question pretty frequently, and I never answered it like that. I'm just working out some edges now. A lot of stuff here is still not figured out. I've been so lazy. That's all right. It happens. Too far back, can't clip. That's all right. Hopefully I'll remember to do it. I never remember to do it. These things happen. Oh, nice. Thanks, man. I don't even know how clipping works, like the live clipping. For a while there, I was just clipping the entire episode because I didn't know. Yeah, I really need to speed up. I'm totally just pussyfooting. I'm so, like I said, I'm so gun shy about my machine crashing that like just really digging in and just scribble painting is spooky for me. I'm being a wuss. Gotta stop it. Hey, Thug, are you still on? I had a Twitch question for you since you watch a fair amount. Yeah, I must have taken off. No worries. Next time. Well, just in general, actually, if any of you guys do watch Twitch regularly, what's sort of a good average amount of time that people tend to spend that isn't exhausting for you? Like, it recommends, from what I've seen, it recommends something like 3 hours. But I think I might be able to do more frequent visits if they're shorter in general, if they're 2 hours or so. Spend how, what? Your Z-bolts? You just want numbers, more hours is better. Really? 2 to 3 is a good number to shoot for. Most streams you watch usually last 4+. Oh, shit. So less days, more hours is what you're saying, it sounds like. Okay. Weirdly, they don't count. That was one of the things I noticed when, as you progress through the ranks for Twitch, is they don't seem to count the hours you do. They count the frequency of days. Gray Voices, thanks for hanging. I know it must be late for you. Glad you could join. Or early, I don't know. It's dark here, that's all I know. Well, I don't want to push it too much. Gang will reconvene hopefully Thursday, the usual time, which would be noon Pacific Standard. We'll see how it's doing. We'll just keep testing stability. I think today was great. It was really brilliant. So not bad, not bad for our first time back. Um, see, I missed some talks. Nope, just Gray Voice is heading out. It's 2 a.m. Sweet. So if you're hanging out and you're interested in chatting more, learning with anybody else, check out the Discord for sure. Um, I don't even know if all of my streamy goodness is working, but yeah. Anyway, thanks, gang, for coming back again. I know 2 weeks is basically the death of a channel, so it's awesome to see so many familiar faces. Glad you could be here. We'll be back on Thursday. I'm going to try to go back to the regular schedule. I will probably be moving the Thursday class to a weekend eventually. I'll let you know when that goes down. Until then, as always, paint smart, paint sexy.
I'm Izzy, a professional writer, concept artist, and illustrator. I've taught painting for a dozen years or so, on and offline. Many of your favorite illustrators and designers have studied with me or under me and have gone on to teach in their own right. You're here because, like they did, you want to learn to paint realistically for illustration or concept art. Well, worry not. You're in the right place. Grab a seat. I want you to join me as I explain all the aspects of image making in extremely digestible and clear monthly lessons. Not through the lens of silly how to paint hair or eye demos. That shit is carnival tricks. And you're not really learning anything except an exact way to render one thing in one manner. This is painting mysticism at its worst. Watching these kinds of exploitative lessons won't help you level up with your understanding. Sure, now you can paint sparkly hair, but what if you want to paint a dragon, or figure out how to render a sea of fire, or depict a one-eyed transgender space marine dying in the vacuum of space? Painting and image making are tools of communication, and can be learned by anyone willing to put in some time. Like grammar is for language, light, color, and form literally follow a formula. Painting well is not a matter of chicken bones, zombie crackers, and the ever-dismissive concept of talent. Learning with my series, Izzy's Logic of Light and Color, will give you the tools and understanding so you can analyze light and form in reality and bring it to life in your work. Using this simple system I have distilled will help you harness your art to share your ideas as you've always intended. When we are children, we all draw in symbols. Symbols for our house, our hands, the sun, the grass, our pet lobster. As we grow into artists, we must learn to throw away symbols and begin to draw and paint what it is we actually see. And as we grow further, we learn to paint beyond what we see and what is actually there. Until finally we move beyond this and learn to trim away what is actually there so we voice only what we want. With me, you're going to have to buckle in and maybe take some pain meds, because I'm going to rip out your normal person's eyes and replace them with a painter's eyes. I'm going to restructure how you see and how you understand what you're seeing. I'm going to turn you into a painting machine. Truly, anyone can learn to paint realistically if they can both determine what they're seeing or imagining with basic and straightforward rules. Once you understand the mechanics of light, color, and form in reality, you will have the capacity to paint anything you can see or imagine realistically. After that, the real fun begins. Here are some of the ways you can join me and master the logic of light and color. The very first lesson of my series is totally free on my YouTube channel. In that lesson, I give you the 3 primary rules of light that are the very foundation of painting and understanding light itself. If you do nothing else to make your painting mastery easier, at least watch this amazing little lesson. It will do more for your basic understanding of light than just about any tutorial you can find. When you're ready to get deeper and you feel like you have those first rules figured out, allow me to utterly blow your mind with the next episodes available on Gumroad and ArtStation. As we go deeper into the rules underlying the logic of light and color, I carefully and simply explain important and interesting elements. From beginner to pro, there is an amazing amount of information available. Each concept has been distilled into the clearest explanation you're likely to find anywhere. Like episode 2, where we cover the atmospheric effect and how that relates to light, scale, and distance of objects in reality, and how to render it. Or episode 3, where I hand over the ultimate key to controlling value in your paintings. Episodes 5 through 8 are all about rendering materials. Want to understand the logic behind rendering metal, leather, hair, transparency, damn near anything. I even cover the logic behind painting special effects like fire, neon, or lightsabers in later episodes. The lessons just get deeper and more detailed as I build on the foundations covered in preceding episodes. The 10th gives you the most important rule of composition you'll ever learn to keep your images interesting. The next few episodes cover important painting techniques like my edge control ninjutsu or simplification with the large to small system. We dip a toe in color theory, devote a few episodes to finishing full-blown illustrations utilizing the techniques we've learned so far. Some episodes, like the lighting game or Advanced Exercises 1, the shirt, present cheap, valuable, and practical exercises to give you explosive growth in your development. Episodes 22 through 25 cover painting and illustration, just like I do for Magic the Gathering, from assignment and inception to signing the painting at the end. Each one is full of tips, knowledge, everything to make working as an illustrator easier. Did you enjoy learning how to paint basic materials? Metal, wood, and such? I got 3 whole episodes devoted to the intricate logic behind painting different kinds of skin. After that, more lessons devoted to pumping life into your portraits and original methods for accurately drawing faces out of your head. From fundamentals to photo bashing, Gumroad and ArtStation have every lesson I create available for purchase a la carte. But here's an even better way to learn with me. Stay current with my latest lessons on Patreon for the lowest price available. Monthly support gets my student that month's lesson, a critique or paint over of their finished work, a discount code for 25% off the entire Gumroad archive, and access to the Logic of Light and Color Discord community, where we plan future lessons, share knowledge, and learn together as a team. The absolute best method is to join my Patreon classroom at the Student Plus tier, where you'll get everything I just mentioned and a free episode from the archive every month to accelerate your mastery at your own pace. You've decided to take control of your painting and master Izzy's logic of light and color. Now it's up to you to choose the path that's best for you. I'll see you on the flip side. Paint smart, paint sexy.